One question at the kitchen table set off a chain reaction. Conversations gave way to distance. Distance turned into action. Behind the calm exterior hid calculation. And beneath that calculation, strategy. Because real revenge isn't loud. It stays quiet, makes breakfast for the kids, and checks boxes on legal forms. It smiles at parent-teacher meetings and arranges toys in a new room. And one day, the reflection in the mirror isn't the one who was betrayed. It's the one who survived and came back stronger. Greetings, my dear viewer. Please tell me which city and country you're watching this video from. Maybe you're watching me from a small town or a gigantic metropolis. Write about it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends. It will make me very happy. Let's get started. My name is Russell. Ophelia and I had been together for 9 years. We shared a life, a home, and 2 children, Milo, 7, and Eva, who had just celebrated her 4th birthday. From the outside, everything seemed perfectly in place. We lived in a comfortable house near Portland, held steady jobs, and never once missed a mortgage payment. But beneath the surface, if you looked closely, and eventually I did, something wasn't quite right. The change crept in gradually. Ophelia stopped joining me on the couch. Her texts, once affectionate and warm, were reduced to curt responses, sometimes just a K. She began staying late at the office more often, attributing it to a demanding new client and tighter deadlines for her marketing team. At first I believed her, but then one Thursday I called her office simply to hear her voice. A coworker casually mentioned she had left early. That stuck with me. A few nights later, I walked past our bedroom and heard her laughing, deep, carefree laughter, while on the phone. She hadn't even noticed me standing there. I didn't ask who she was talking to. I didn't want to become the paranoid husband. Still, from that night forward, I started quietly watching. That weekend, we attended a neighborhood cookout hosted by Silas, a few houses down. Ophelia barely looked up from her phone the entire time. I leaned over and asked, "You okay?" Without looking at me, she smiled and said, "Yeah, it's just work." Later, Silas pulled me aside. "You and Ophelia good?" he asked. I gave him a confused look. "Why?" "She seems kind of distant," he said. It was the first time someone outside our home gave voice to what I'd already begun to feel. The turning point came on a Tuesday evening. Ophelia had fallen asleep, and her phone was charging on the nightstand. I've never been one to snoop, but something inside me shifted that night. I picked up her phone and gently pressed her thumb to the sensor. It unlocked right away. I didn't even have to search. One notification appeared immediately. Declan, thinking about last weekend. Can't stop smiling. I tapped it. The app asked for a second password. She had gone out of her way to lock it down. Deliberate, cautious, hidden. I placed the phone back where I found it. My hands were steady. There was no shouting, no emotional eruption. I sat down in the hallway and breathed slowly for nearly 20 minutes. That's when I made my choice, not to confront her yet, but to watch. Quietly. Intentionally. The next morning, Ophelia made blueberry pancakes for Eva, just how she liked them. She moved through the kitchen as if everything were perfectly normal, humming a tune I didn't recognize while she poured herself coffee. I didn't bring up the message. I simply observed. 2 days later, on Friday night after the kids were asleep, I told her we needed to talk. We stood in the kitchen. I sat down at the table and she joined me with her arms crossed. "What's this about?" she asked. I met her gaze. "Are you involved with someone else?" She didn't blink. No gasp of surprise, just a cold, quiet tension in the room. "I don't know what you mean," she said carefully. I kept my voice calm. "I saw a message from Declan." She paused, then exhaled. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." "We've just been talking," she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. "It's emotional. That's it. Nothing physical, but it might have gone there." The air between us turned heavy. How long has it been going on? I asked. 5 months, she murmured. I gave a slow nod. Is that why you've been so withdrawn? She looked away. I haven't felt like your wife in a long time, Russell. You're always busy, always tired. I felt invisible. I needed more. And you found that in Declan. I didn't plan to, she said. He gets me. I can be myself with him. I feel understood. I let her words hang in the silence before asking, Are you willing to stop seeing him? She hesitated. I don't know. I need time. No, I said quietly. You've already made your decision. And now, I've made mine. She stood up. You're being dramatic. No, I answered. I'm just being truthful. She didn't reply. She turned and walked upstairs. That night, I moved into the guest room. I didn't sleep, not because of rage, but because my mind was working, strategizing. The next morning, I went about things as usual. I made breakfast for the kids. Pancakes, juice, cartoons playing in the background. Just another Saturday, at least for them. Ophelia eventually came downstairs, deliberately avoiding my gaze, and muttered a barely audible, "Morning." I gave her a simple nod. No words exchanged. That afternoon, while she took Eva to ballet class, I made 3 crucial phone calls. The first went to Marcus Grant, a family law attorney recommended by a colleague who had quietly finalized his own divorce the year before. Marcus was calm, candid, and didn't sugarcoat anything. You need to protect yourself, he advised. Especially when it comes to your finances. Don't confront her anymore. Just document everything. The second call was to a therapist. I knew if I didn't take steps to manage my emotions, I'd end up reacting from pain instead of leading with clarity and purpose. The third call was to my brother Nathan, the one person I trusted to be there for the kids in case everything started unraveling fast. That evening, after Milo and Eva had gone to bed, Ophelia and I talked again. I'm not looking to argue, I told her calmly, but I need a straight answer. Are you ending things with Declan or not? Her expression tightened. You're trying to trap me. No, I replied evenly. I'm asking you to make a decision. You can't have both of us. If Declan is the one you want, I won't stand in your way, but I'm not staying in a marriage with someone who's already halfway gone. She crossed her arms. I just want a proper goodbye. I need closure. Closure? I said, raising an eyebrow. Sounds more like a convenient excuse to see him again. Her voice rose in frustration. I'm not hiding anything. You're just trying to control me. I stood from my seat. If asking my wife to cut ties with the man she betrayed me with makes me controlling, then I guess I am. She clenched her jaw and stayed silent. Look, I continued, steady and firm. If you want to be with him, just say it. Pack your things and go. I'll handle the rest. She didn't leave that night, but something between us fundamentally shifted. Whatever softness I still felt began to harden. In the weeks that followed, we kept up appearances. Ophelia told me she had broken it off with Declan. She said she sent a final message and blocked his number. She even showed me the text and deleted his contact. I wanted to believe her, but trust broken once is rarely repaired so easily. About 10 days later, I went to the laundry room and saw her phone resting on the dryer, screen aglow. I hadn't meant to check it, but the name on the notification made me stop cold. Declan. Miss you. That song you sent. I can't stop thinking about it, only it wasn't under his name. The contact was disguised, listed under a client file with a dash, clearly meant to mislead. I walked upstairs with her phone in hand. She was brushing her teeth when I entered. You're still talking to him? I asked. She glanced down, froze. That's an old message, she said, pausing. It's not recent. I held the phone up so she could see. He just sent this. Want to try that again? She shut off the faucet. It's complicated, Russell. He's helped me through a lot. No. What's complicated is raising 2 kids while their mother lies and continues an emotional affair. I said I was sorry. No, you're sorry you got caught. The following morning, I had the divorce papers served. My lawyer arranged for them to be delivered shortly after she dropped Eva off at preschool, to avoid a scene in front of the children. That evening, Milo, ever perceptive, looked up at me and asked, "Why are you sleeping in the guest room again?" I sat beside him. "Sometimes grown-ups don't agree on everything," I explained gently. "But your mom and I both love you and your sister. That will never change." He nodded slowly. "Is Mom in trouble?" "No one's in trouble," I told him. "We're just figuring out some tough things." Later that night, Ophelia confronted me. "You didn't have to humiliate me." I met her eyes without flinching. "You had your chance to be honest. What happened today is the result of the choices you made." She had no reply. I didn't wallow in self-pity. Instead, I woke up at 5:30 every morning and started lifting weights in the garage before the kids were up. I accepted a promotion I'd postponed, not because I couldn't handle it, but because I'd lacked the emotional clarity. I even made an early mortgage payment. Ophelia noticed the change, but I didn't owe her explanations. We were still living under the same roof, but in separate bedrooms, leading separate routines, for the sake of stability, at least until the divorce was finalized. Our setup had grown tense, but it still worked. We took turns preparing meals, kept things civil around the kids, and mostly texted, even when we were in the same space. The emotional connection was gone. All that remained was coordination. One afternoon, I picked Milo up from school. During the drive, he turned to me and said, "You seem happier these days." I glanced over. "Yeah? You think so?" "For sure," he replied. "You laugh more now." And he was right. I'd begun laughing again, at shows, at dumb memes, at nothing in particular. Not because I was fully okay, but because I'd finally stepped out of the fog. Ophelia, meanwhile, didn't carry herself like someone basking in love. She looked depleted, preoccupied. Her arrivals got later and later, and she offered no reasons. I stopped questioning. I stopped caring. But I couldn't help noticing, if Declan was still around, he wasn't making much of an impact. One evening, as I folded laundry in the living room, she made a sudden remark. "You realize the kids are doing all right because of me, don't you?" I folded another t-shirt. "They're doing all right because both of us love them, and only one of us hasn't been dishonest for half a year." She had nothing to say to that. I stuck with therapy, pushed harder at the gym, and built back strength, 10 pounds of new muscle. I wasn't swiping on apps or flirting with anyone. I didn't need outside reassurance. But people noticed the shift. Co-workers, friends, even Claire, Ophelia's sister, who ran into me at the store. "You look different," she said. "In a good way." I smiled, tossing apples into a produce bag. "Thanks. I feel different." And I meant it. I was quietly healing, and Ophelia could feel the distance. With Milo turning 8, Ophelia and I decided to host separate celebrations. Mine would be the weekend before, hers on his actual birthday. I kept mine simple: games in the backyard, cake, close friends and family. Milo was lit up the entire day. He told me it was his favorite birthday ever. That was enough for me. A few days later, Claire brought something up in conversation. Declan was expected at Ophelia's gathering. It was going to be held at her parents' house, the backyard where she'd spent her childhood. I didn't react, just gave a nod. "She didn't tell you?" Claire asked. "No," I said calmly. "She didn't." Claire looked uneasy. "I thought you should know." I didn't mention it to Ophelia. No confrontation, just quiet preparation. That Saturday morning, a couple of hours before the party, I ran some errands and stopped by her parents' place around 10. The kids were already inside with their grandparents. I circled the house and spotted Ophelia and Declan tying up decorations. Her face went rigid when she noticed me. Declan stood there like he'd just been handed a live grenade. "Russell," she said, stiff as stone, "you're not supposed to be here." "I'm not staying," I said evenly, holding out a gift-wrapped box. Just dropping this off from Milo, and I wanted to say hi. Declan tried to smile, uneasy. Hey, man. I stared right through him. Enjoy the party, I said, then turned to Ophelia. But don't use our son's birthday to put your new boyfriend on display, especially when a good part of your family still doesn't know the full truth. She looked down. You don't understand. No, I said. I do. You just didn't think I'd show. That's your mistake. I walked away without another word. Later that afternoon, I hiked through a nearby trail to clear my head. Somewhere along the way, my phone buzzed. A message from Ophelia, asking me to come back, saying Milo would miss me. I didn't reply. That evening, Milo called. Thanks for the present, Dad. It was awesome. Glad you liked it, buddy. He didn't mention the party, and I didn't ask. The message had already been delivered. 2 weeks passed, and the divorce was finalized. I signed the paperwork on a quiet Thursday morning and headed straight to my new place, a modest 2-bedroom home just a few blocks from the old one. It was peaceful. The backyard was fenced. Space to breathe again. The first thing I did was set up Milo and Eva's rooms, hung up posters, laid out their blankets, plugged in the nightlights, so it felt like their home the second they arrived. When they walked in, Milo's face lit up. This is awesome. Eva squeezed her stuffed unicorn like it was the best day of her life. That night, we made homemade pizza, curled up for a movie, and laughed like nothing had changed. And for the first time in what felt like forever, it actually felt true. Throughout that period, Ophelia kept attempting to stretch our communication beyond the necessities of co-parenting. She'd send snapshots of the kids outside the agreed-upon hours, offer to help me get settled in the new house, or casually bring up plans for upcoming holidays. I answered politely, but with distance, short, neutral replies. At one point she messaged, "We don't have to be on opposite sides." I chose silence over engagement. Another time, while handing off the kids, she lingered on the doorstep and said, "I still care about you." I looked her square in the eye and replied, "What you cared about was having control. That's no longer yours." She never said anything like that again. As for Declan, he quietly slipped out of the picture after the birthday celebration. From what I could gather, their relationship dissolved slowly and without any major incident, more like a flame quietly snuffed out than a dramatic breakup. People stopped asking. They either knew the truth or had enough pieces to figure it out themselves. Claire stayed warm and respectful. Even Ophelia's father, who once barely acknowledged me, shook my hand at Eva's school recital. By the time 6 months had passed, I had regained my balance. Early morning workouts, steady progress at work, dinners with the kids, and solitary evenings that no longer felt empty. One Saturday, while I was sweeping leaves off the back porch, Milo glanced up at me and said, "You don't get mad anymore." I chuckled. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" He shrugged. "Not sure. Just feels better." I wasn't chasing revenge. I didn't need drama. What I had was enough: peace of mind, time with my children, and a steady path ahead. Ophelia once told me she didn't feel like my wife anymore. She was right, and I thank God every day that she's not. Our story has come to an end. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the way I tell stories, head over to my channel and check out my other videos. May the force be with you. See you soon, my friend.